Моя седьмая симфония навеяна грозными событиями 1941 года. Нашей борьбе с фашизмом, нашей грядущей победе над врагом, моему родному городу Ленинграду я посвящаю это сочинение.
On the 8th of September 1941, the siege of Leningrad began. It is amongst this backdrop of destruction and turmoil that a great moment in music history occurred, something almost completely incomprehensible in our modern times. This, of course, being the composition and performance of Shostakovich's Seventh Symphony in the besieged Leningrad. In the backdrop of war-torn and starvation-ridden Leningrad, one of the greatest achievements in artistic history occurred. This performance of a work of art, against all odds, ranks among one of the most monumental achievements of a composer in the 20th century. And for me, shows the power of how music can transcend just something for personal enjoyment, but rather becomes a symbol of defiance and propaganda for a nation besieged by an invading ideology. And it wasn't until August of 1942 that a premiere of the piece's namesake would happen in Leningrad. At this point, the city was still besieged, and many had died of starvation and sickness, including members of the Leningrad Radio Orchestra who would premiere the work, many of whom were emaciated due to the extreme rationing within the city. Bodies of the deceased would remain where they had died. No funerals were held, and the situation within the city limits was truly horrific. But yet posters were put up throughout the city asking for all musicians remaining in the city to join in the piece's premiere. During rehearsals, musicians often became so weak due to extreme starvation that they would collapse, especially the brass players. Many of the musicians were said to be near death. When the day of the Leningrad premiere arrived on the 9th of August, the very date Hitler had planned on the fall of Leningrad, Soviet Lieutenant General Govorov initiated Operation Squall. In the weeks preceding the Leningrad premiere, the Soviets had identified artillery positions surrounding the city. In a bizarre moment in military history, an operation was undertaken for the sake of art. Govorov ordered the shelling of these positions to ensure the concert would not be disturbed by the sounds of war, and for that short moment, the city would only hear music. In an act of tremendous defiance, loudspeakers of the radio broadcast were turned toward the German lines. The concert then became a symbol of Russian defiance against insurmountable odds. Although the musicians could hardly get through the performance, and the musicality has been described as subpar, which is hard not to imagine being the case, it served an unbelievably important purpose. And when the concert ended, the crowded Grand Philharmonia Hall erupted into a 1-hour-long ovation.
Myslím, že to myslel nie tak, že na Ukrajine nie je vojna, ale že priamo v hlavnom meste neprebieha vojenská operácia. Samozrejme, sem tam možno sú tam nejaké letecké útoky.
Ako ste to povedali, pán predseda? Sem tam nejaká raketa, či sem tam nejaký letecký útok?
Dobre, môžete použiť výraz, akože to sa niekedy vám stane.
Týmito slovami bagatelizoval predseda Národnej rady Slovenskej republiky tie hrozostrašné vyjadrenia premiéra Fica, ktorý ľuďom, ktorí zažívajú letecký útok alebo raketový útok v podstate každý deň, ktorí v priemere strávili 2,5 mesiaca minulý rok v leteckých krytoch, v meste, kde umreli stovky detí, žien, mužov na následky ruského raketového útoku, on im povie, že nič tam nie je, v pohode, normálny život, žiadna vojna. Toto sú dnešné výroky predsedu vlády Slovenskej republiky, ktoré predseda Národnej rady bagatelizuje a musím povedať, prepáčte silné slova, ale hanba mu za to.
Ako to pomôže západnej časti Ukrajiny, takže ja si myslím, že sa stretli tam, kde sa stretnúť mali. A viete, ako vám to mám povedať, tak ľudsky zase. Obrovskú burku to vyvolalo, že premiér povedal, že tam, ale myslím, že a skôr myslel, že tam nie je frontová línia v tom Kyjeve. A deň na to sa dozvedáme, že náš festival Pohoda, že organizátor Pohody ide do Kyjeva organizovať diskotéku v týchto časoch. No tak čo tam potom? Diskotéka tam sa môže organizovať, alebo zábava, Pohoda, ako festival veľký, či čo sme sa dopočuli. No tak viete, tak skúsme nad tým tak globálnejšie rozmýšľať a nerobme ešte raz toho burku v koši.
Hlas? Jasne.